welcome to South Asian Overground Season 2, and Kiri's back.
Hello.
We just couldn't get enough of you.
Oh, well, what can I say? Become famous now, haven't I?
Everyone loved your episode. Like, I think you're kind of like you're almost like my marketing campaign, because like you just sent it to everyone.
Well, because it's like really exciting for me to get to do something quite fun rather than just be a corporate estate agent all the time.
Because all you wear is corporate clothing.
As we all know.
And Kiri is wearing corporate clothing right now.
I have been at work today, guys. Come on.
I'm like a little Indian bumpkin, South Asian bumpkin.
She looks like she's about to go to the Cotswold and be South Asian in it.
In the Cotswolds. I don't think you find many South Asians in the Cotswolds.
Maybe not. Maybe we should start it. Could be a thing.
Bhangra dancing in the Cotswolds.
Around a totem pole. Great.
Ooh. All right, so the purpose of this episode is, first of all, Kiri is my cousin. In full South Asian style, I wanted to get you on the podcast because obviously it's family in South Asia. And first episode was amazing. This episode, right, we're going to have to get you to reintroduce yourself again for people that haven't listened to your first episode, which is rude. I'll put your first episode in the show notes though.
That's great.
But the idea behind this episode is a little bit different from the others. It's kind of like we just chat about dating as South Asians, and it is a bit different, isn't it, from like other people dating. Also just like agony anting. I've actually got some dilemmas in my phone for you that we're going to answer. And also big up our grandpa.
It's his birthday today. Well, he passed away 28 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was a very horrendous day when he passed away, but he was my favourite person in the planet. And he died when I was 15, which was before Talina was born, unfortunately. But it's his birthday today. And I think we're trying to work it out. He was either 94 or 95 today.
Right. And I was in the oven. I was cooking when he passed away.
You were cooking,
and he thought I was going to be a boy. And he thought our cousin Cengiz was going to be a girl. Turns out it was the other way around.
I know. He didn't go into those psychic abilities so well.
But we call him Nana, even though I never met him. What was he like? Like, wasn't he a bit of an icon?
So he was just fantastic. He just was so happy all the time. He sat down and he smoked a lot of cigarettes, and he drank a lot of tea he used to drink a lot of tea. So we all used to have to get up and make him tea all the time. It got to a point where Uncle Adnan, who's the youngest out of all of the siblings, of our parents' siblings, actually went and bought him a flask so that he could get 4 cups of tea in a flask. So we used to then have to fill up his flask, but less times a day. So he used to sit on his chair, smoke his cigarettes, drink his tea, and he walked probably about 14 steps a day. And he used to do a really fantastic curry, better than you've ever met, ever. I don't think I've ever met anyone that was a better cook in my entire life. He used to look after us every single weekend, and I used to spend a lot of time with him. And he loved music. He loved like Qawwali music. You know, the music where everybody sits down and they sing, and they're like, there's always a big man in the middle and he sings, and they've got the tablas and everything. Yeah. He loved it. He used to create little parties on the quiet, and then we'd turn up on a Sunday, and then all of a sudden there'd be like white sheets going down, and we'd be like, what are you doing? And Mummy would be like, Daddy, you can't do another party. And he'd be like, just like, well, I did it, so everyone's coming now. So then we'd all start cleaning in the kitchen and getting the teas out and everything. But he loved it.
What a G. I wish I could have met him. He sounds like just like an iconic guy.
He was.
And you know what I love? It completely goes against the stereotype of like the woman cooks and like the woman keeps the house, whereas our grandma, our mama, she was out there hustling.
She was, but the reason our grandfather learned how to cook was because she had cancer, and he decided to try and take that role on and help. But he turned out to be, I don't know if he turned out to be a better cook than her, because I can't remember her cooking. But I think the thing is in our family, we always talk about our grandmother, and we never talk about him. But to me, he was the best person ever. So
he was the best.
Yeah, I spent all my time with him.
And you probably got your cooking skills from him, because you are a fantastic cook.
Thank you.
You taught me how to make my first curry.
I did. And you did a very good job, by the way, because you made it for me, didn't you?
Bloody did. And you know, I made another one the other day.
Did you?
The exact same one.
Did you?
But I still made it. And before, I had dal from Prep before I came here.
Was it any good?
It was actually pretty good, yeah.
Really?
But I need you to make me dal. Anyway, we need to actually stop with this hustle bustle now. And actually, I would like to ask you this question, which I already asked you on the first podcast that we did together. But like I said, for those of you that are new listeners, Kiri, where are you from?
Well, I am a British born.
Yeah.
Pakistani
Mm-hmm.
origin
Yeah.
girl from the north.
Oi, oi.
From the north in Cheshire / Manchester.
Yeah.
Because people get upset when I say Cheshire, even though I am officially from Cheshire.
I know, but I get upset too. I'd rather say Manchester because Cheshire's a bit like, oh, you're from Cheshire, are you?
I love saying I'm from Cheshire. But
Oh,
anyway,
no.
so from Cheshire and I live in London. So BBCD, British Born Confused They See is what we like to call ourselves.
I did not know that. Sorry, why have you never told me that? So I'm a BB.
Talina, it's on the last podcast, babe.
Is it?
Yeah.
Bloody can't remember, isn't it?
And it obviously wasn't that important to you, my interview.
I was too busy getting excited about all your dating stories, TBH. Now, this is a new question I like to ask my guests as well.
Okay.
It's a new thing I'm doing, actually, which is, what are the main elements of your culture or heritage that you'd pass on to your kids if you wanted to have kids? Because not everyone wants to have kids, not everyone chooses to have them. But say you did.
Yeah.
What would you do? What would be those elements?
So I think culturally there's a lot to offer within the Pakistani, Indian, South Asian culture. And I think that one of the most exciting things is, and I think you've been brought up very well with this, is kind of the whole music and the whole dancing and the excitement of the colours of, like, you know, the colourfulness of like weddings and mendis and all that sort of stuff. I think it's really important to get your kids involved in that because it's just like a fun thing to do.
I couldn't agree more. And I think my Auntie Niggy, your mum, was very like fundamental in that for me growing up, because obviously I didn't have my grandma around, and I remember so many times like when Auntie Niggy would throw like parties or whatever, like in the garden, and I'd just be dancing.
Yeah.
And, like, I always felt like she got me on board with that one.
She did get you on board with that one. I think you were on more board. You were on more. Well, how do we
More on board.
More on board. That's it.
You were
more on board with that than I was. But yeah, so I think that the whole singing, dancing culture thing. Although, you know, it pains me to sit with mummy for hours watching, you know, Indian Super Dancer.
I love
which I know you love.
Super Dancer.
But,
it's amazing.
But it is very good, actually. It's very good. It's just that when you watch it as much as my parents, it's quite a lot. So that, and also I think the food, I'm not going to be the type of person that brings my kid up not tasting spice. It's going to have spice from a young age, because if you look at my niece and nephew, they can eat anything and they're 7.
Yeah.
And you know, in our family, we've had quite a few little children who have not been allowed to touch anything. And I have to say that they're like scared of like Asian food. And it's like, there's no reason for it. It's not going to make you ill.
I'm scared of the poppadom.
I know. And the thing is like things like turmeric and like all these different, like they've got whole healing elements to them.
Agreed.
So actually ginger's good for you, garlic's good for you, you know, chili's good for you, like everything's good for you. So I would give them, the food is a very big cultural thing. But also I think I would definitely make my children travel to Pakistan.
Yeah.
100%. And, you know, and if I could ever get a visa for India, maybe I would take them to India as well. But it would be good for me to be able to, you know, to give them that kind of side of things, because I went to Pakistan recently while you were in India.
Yeah.
And when I went, because I've been going so much my whole life, when I go there, I have a very big attachment to it.
Yeah.
And I feel something very, very close to it when I arrive there, which I don't feel anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Which, although I was brought up going all over Europe and all over the Caribbean and to America and all these places, my mum still made sure we went to Pakistan. Well, my mum and dad, to be honest, my dad, Pakistan and Karachi, Islamabad, Lahore, a lot. And that kind of gave me the foundation of, even though I hated it when I was a child, I now love it because I really appreciate it.
100%. Because I remember, talking of hating things when you were a child, I remember I used to go to madrasa, which is basically like Islam / Muslim school, and my friend Miri, I used to go with her, and my mum and dad can't remember me going. I'm like, yo, I went. At the time,
I actually remember you going.
It was hell. The place where you were was freezing, ugly, awful. But now in hindsight, I kind of wish I'd actually stuck it out, because I would have known more.
So when I was little, I went to a place called Sunday School, and Sunday School was much more fun than madrasa.
Was it like, as in Muslim Sunday school?
It was Muslim Sunday School, but it was run by Auntie Mumtaz and Uncle Hamid. And they basically took it over. And you know what? We used to go every week, and the only reason we used to go is because we used to get a free Kit Kat.
Nice.
a free packet of Space Invaders,
Awesome.
and a can of Coke at lunchtime.
That's the only reason.
and actually recently I met with my friend Anna Rahman from school, and her and I bonded a little bit over Sunday school too, because even though she went to my school, like we both went to Sunday school, and both of us said the same thing: Kit Kat immediately. Kit Kat.
Do you think you learned anything from Sunday school?
I can still remember one of the songs.
Do you want to sing it?
No.
Okay. So I was actually going to ask you about this a little later on, but I'm going to do it now because you've already brought it up. Your trip to Pakistan.
Yeah.
How was it for you? And can you tell us little bit about what you did? Because you actually went to the shelters, didn't you? Because your mummy, my auntie, does a lot of work with the young girls in shelters there, right?
So my mum and dad are very instrumental in helping a charity in Pakistan called the Bali Memorial Trust.
Yeah.
And basically the Bali Memorial Trust has shelters for elderly people that have been left by their children, which is not normally the case in Pakistan, India.
No,
you're normally, but some elderly people have been left now, so they've got a shelter for that, which I've never been to.
Yeah.
But they do have a shelter for young girls, and it's anything from birth up until marriage age, which could be like their mid-20s. They're looked after within this shelter, and mummy's been very instrumental in making sure that these girls are highly educated, they have good clothes, they are, they speak English, they can communicate. Some of them are not that good at English, some of them are amazing at English, and they have like quite regimented lives, but a lot of them are very clever. So they go to university, they study physics, they study medicine, they do all sorts of stuff. And it's all thanks to this charity. So this charity is something that's quite close to us.
Yeah.
And my purpose of going to Lahore really is to go to look to see these girls.
Yeah.
And one of them asked me when I was there who I really wanted to adopt, because she's just like the most amazing girl.
You wanted to adopt 2 kids when you were there.
Yeah, I did. I did want to adopt these 2 kids. And she just said to me, what's been your favourite part of being in Pakistan? And I said, you guys. And she was so shocked. She went, what do you mean? And I said, you guys. I said, I only come here to see you. That's why I come here.
Yeah.
And she was really taken aback. But it's really humbling. It's a humbling experience to go there every day, to hang out with them, to like just do playing activities with them, to pray with them, to do whatever they want. I'm not religious, but I still prayed with them.
Yeah, of course.
And and it's just very, very humbling to know that these girls, some of them have got horrendous stories. Like these 2 girls, the ones that I wanted to adopt, are 15 and 13, very clever, highly intelligent girls. But they at a young age, they were their mother died of hepatitis C.
Wow.
So their mother died of hepatitis C, and then their father got remarried. And it's a bit of a Cinderella story, because like the father got remarried to a really evil stepmother, basically. And he then had an accident and became paraplegic. So he basically can only blink.
Wow.
And the stepmother basically just
got rid of the kids.
Just got rid of the kids. And so these girls are like, they've been through trauma. That happened to them at 5 and 7.
Yeah.
Like the worst possible ages.
Yeah,
but
and that's when things are like really being implemented into you at that age that you carry with you for the rest of your life.
These girls can speak fluent English. Fluent. Like when I say fluent, they probably speak more of the Queen's English than I do.
Yeah.
And they are exceptionally intelligent. Like the older one, she's called Shanaz. She basically had all of her exam results, and she'd come out of they put all the results together, and she basically got 100% across every subject.
But what happens to these girls, like, so in the shelter, like what will happen to them afterwards?
So the way that it works is nobody can stop them from leaving. So if they want to leave, they can leave, right? But if they want to stay, and they stay, and they're not like, it's not like Annie or anything. It's not like Annie the musical where it's like Hard Knock Life or anything like that. They're really looked after.
Yeah.
They can stay. They're supported to go to school. They're supported to go to college to do their A-levels, and they're supported to go to university. They're supported to even work afterwards. And if they want to stay, they can stay. But they'll go through the process of the arranged marriage process, where they'll find a suitable husband for them and marry them off, basically. But at that point, if they want to leave, no one can stop them from leaving.
Yeah.
But it's a home for them for life, basically.
Yeah. And I've seen videos from there, like they're all dancing, everyone's having a good time, like it's really clean.
Oh God, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's in a proper house. Yeah. It's a really fantastic charity.
Well, I rate you for going. I need to go.
You're going to come with me next time.
Yeah, I will. I'll probably end up wanting to adopt everyone as well.
You
like
will.
you.
Yeah.
Because we are Leos,
Yeah,
and that's what we're like. Anyway, all right. So now dating / agony anting.
Okay.
First question.
I'm scared.
You should be. First question. Kiri, you and I actually, I think, are very similar in this way, as we are similar in many ways. There is always something going on in our life. It changes week to week, hour to hour, minute to minute. There's always some dating story. And I feel like with both of us, our friends are like, so what's happened this time? Right? What is going on in your love life?
Well, there are things going on in my love life, you could say.
Yeah.
And I'm just seeing, I don't want to really say anything. I'm seeing how something is going to develop. Let's put it that way. With somebody who's very nice.
So you think you maybe are coming into a more settled place?
I don't know about that. I'm not really putting myself in that position. It's kind of live for now and see what happens.
I have never seen you withheld information before. This is something new.
You don't normally ask me on a podcast.
I mean, that's so fair.
That's fair.
Really fair.
That's fair, yeah.
Okay, fine. I'll stop. I won't push you. So when I went to India recently, I went on this thing called the Maharaja Express, which is a train.
Which looked amazing, by the way.
It's amazing. You stay on this train, and it took us through Rajasthan. We went to, I think, around 7 or 8 cities in 9 days.
Amazing.
There was this amazing girl on the train called Kajol.
Okay.
She works there. She's super young, and I got like quite close to her at the end of the trip, and she was telling me that she was like, oh, like I've never had a boyfriend because I can't tell my parents. So I was like, hold up, Kajol. You're telling me you've never had a boyfriend because you can't tell your parents? I was like, why do you not just lie? When I told my dad this, he was like, Talina, you can't tell someone to lie. I was like, yeah, I can. But I'm just saying, like, imagine that, right? She's choosing not to have a boyfriend because she can't tell her parents, and she's dying to get out of India because she doesn't want to end up being set up with some random guy.
Yeah.
So she was like, she wants to move to Dubai or somewhere or whatever. And
Yeah,
I was saying,
fair
well,
enough.
we could help you out maybe at some point if you,
Yeah.
if you need help moving. But that's another subject. But what is your views, right? And did you ever do this when you were younger? Just not get a boyfriend or not do something because you didn't want to have to not tell your parents?
Oh my God, my whole life has been living around that.
No, but as in, you might have done the thing, but just not tell them. But did you not do the thing because you didn't want to not tell them?
That's what I mean. I lived my whole life like that until I was like 30 or something.
Right.
Yeah, I was like really like proper goody two shoes.
But this is a South Asian thing.
Yeah, because basically, so I think when you brought up with the South, well, it's Pakistani Indian thing, yeah, that you brought up. And, I've got Benazir, who's my best friend, who's Indian and Sikh. So, and I'm Muslim and Pakistani. So, like,
confusing.
we're talking, it's confusing. But what I'm saying is that it's across the board.
Yeah.
We spent our whole life trying to protect our reputation. That's all we cared about.
Right, yeah.
Because we were like, had the fear of God that if we, for God forbid, went out past 1 minute past 11 o'clock, we would literally be clocked by the whole community and we'd be like blacklisted. And you know what? And then Benazir spends her life telling me that everybody else had fun. You know, everybody else had fun and we didn't. We didn't do it because we were idiots. Like we were too scared of it all.
Yeah, you are.
And they all got, every girl got what they wanted. But I didn't see it like that. I kind of see it as the fact that I was the only daughter.
Yeah.
I am like the goody two shoes of the clan. That's the way that it is. And I my whole time I lived in Manchester, I definitely never did anything behind my parents' back at all.
Why do you think it that so many like Indian kids, Pakistani kids, Sikh kids, whatever, have the fear of God in them? So just don't do things because they don't want their parents to find out. Like for me, it's like, what, you're not having a boyfriend because you don't want to lie, eh?
You're not having a boyfriend because your parents won't let you.
Yeah, but just don't tell them.
Yeah, but it's not that easy because then all you do is look behind your back. You're scared that you're going to get caught.
Yeah.
So I was scared to even go clubbing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was scared to get caught about anything. Scared to get caught wearing the wrong makeup, or a pair of a skirt that was an inch too short or something.
Are you still scared?
No, I'm not scared anymore because literally I think my mum and dad would like ship me off with anyone. I think they don't care anymore. I think that they're quite happy.
I think this fear thing is definitely more prominent in South Asian kids than like other kids.
Yes, no, I agree with you 100%. It's a cultural thing.
why do you think that is though? Just because of like the community finding out and stuff?
I think that the community, I don't know why, it's like drummed into us that it's bad to be normal.
Yeah.
It's bad to be normal. Like, it's bad to, as a girl, I mean, obviously people have their own preferences, but I'm talking about myself here. But it's bad as a girl to fancy a boy. Like, it's like not a thing you're meant to do.
No.
You know, but then your parents try and set you up with some really horrific people. And they tell you what a great guy he is. And you're like, I don't care if he's great. Like, he's got like 3 heads. Like, what do you want me to do about it? Like seriously. I mean, Perry will remind you of this. Well, not remind you of this, but he'll be able to back me up on this story.
Yeah.
But my mum once, when Manners was 1, and
That's
I
our
was
cousin.
living in London, so I remember it was Manners' first birthday, and my mum had met some guy called Shamus, who Perry nicknamed Shamu the Whale.
Oh God.
And I don't know where she'd met him, but she'd met him somewhere, and he'd ended up charming her because apparently he was in charge of cruise ships and he'd written some handbook or some crap. And the guy was so unattractive. It gave me the ick within like a nanosecond. Like, I was icked out. I was like literally like repellent. I was like ready with the, like it was like voodoo X, everything. Like, literally, I'd have got a voodoo doll and like literally put pins in his eyes if I could have done. I like literally hated him. And I remember that I was made to feel guilty because I didn't want to pursue it. And I'm like, but why? Because you think this is a good idea. This is the problem. Like, when you're British born and you're also from a very liberal family, but your parents try to instill this whole Asian life on you, you're like, but why?
Yeah.
You know, Uncle Pervez, Uncle Naveed, Uncle Adnan, and Uncle Tarek. Don't know why it took me a second to even say that. All married blondes.
I know.
So, why is it any different for me? I know I'm a girl, but why is it any different for me?
Do you think it's because both of your parents are South Asian?
But so Tiki would never have had that instilled on him.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
neither would Perry. I mean, they did a little bit, I guess, because they both did marry Asian girls to begin with.
Yeah.
Well, Tiki's been around the world,
Yeah.
But they did, but but not in the same way, like,
Yeah, and I think it's
my dad would probably quite commend them if Perry had brought home, I don't know, some like Icelandic tall leggy blonde or something, he probably would have been fine with it.
Oh, hello, beta.
But instead he brought home lovely Habiba, so that's good.
Yeah,
but
that's good.
It's just a different thing.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I think it's also this thing of, but you can make it work. What? I don't want to try and make it work.
No, the best is love grows. The second best is you should always go for someone that loves you more than you love them.
That one. Oh, that one.
Yeah.
That really gets me.
Yeah, and it's like, yes, okay, love me more than I love them. I get that. But not they love me and I hate them. Like, what the hell? I love them and they love me and I hate them. Well, that's really great, isn't it? It's really great for the rest of my life.
That's really healthy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I hate you and you love me. Perfect. This is the kind of message we are trying to instill on our future children.
But it's good because they come from a good family, and it's good because they've got really, really, really nice parents, and you're going to really get on with them, and
You've got a membership at some of the best clubs in London.
Oh, well, you get that one. I don't get that one.
There's also one, and I'm not going to say too much about it because my parents are going to listen to this podcast and I don't want them to get annoyed with me. But there's this one guy, I mean, you know the story, in Dubai, this older guy who's got into a bit of dodginess now. And I said to my parents, I told you so. But they were really wanting me to get on with him.
Can I tell you? My mum and dad tried to set me up with somebody, right? This is worse.
Oh, God.
And I was younger. I was 21, and he was my dad's friend's nephew.
Right.
And he'd moved over from Pakistan, so he was like fresh off the boat.
Yeah.
And I used to say, my mum and dad used to say, what do you want? I want someone tall. This guy happened to be 6'2", so this really didn't help me. He was 6'2". He was working at my mum and dad's restaurant, and he wrote me a love letter on my 21st birthday inside a card.
Oh, God.
And it was like, I want to be with you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And then his mum came to England and she bought me a diamond ring.
What? How do I not know this story?
As a gift. And I hated him. Like, I literally hated him so much. And I was 21 and I hated him. And like my mum and dad didn't understand. They were like, you know, and I was like, no. I was like, I fancied my dad's friend's son, not my dad's friend's nephew. My dad's friend's son was really hot.
Fit.
He lived in New York. He was cool. He had a job in banking. He was funky. He was gorgeous. I was like, that's the one I want. Why are you not setting me up with the son? Why are you trying to set me up with the nephew that's working for you in the restaurant?
I wrote you a love letter and you hate him.
And I hated him. And you know what? Guess what?
What?
Years later, guess what he ended up doing?
Oh, is he really fit and really successful?
No, he ended up doing credit card fraud.
Perfect.
He married someone and they together did credit card fraud.
Imagine you doing credit card fraud.
Well, that would never happen, but imagine if I was with somebody who has that, what is that?
No thanks. No thanks.
No thanks.
No thanks. Okay, this is a bit of a rogue conversation choice, topic choice, conversation choice.
I'm scared again.
No. It's actually not directed at you at all. But either way, this is not directed at Kiri. If you're listening to this and wondering this, and it's not one of those things where you go, I'm asking about for my friend, but it's really about you. So. In India, for example, Maharajas have a lot of wives. They can have a lot of wives.
Yeah.
Saudi royalty can have a lot of wives.
4.
Right. Yeah, 4. It's a lot. Right. Make me think about polyamory and open relationships.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know. So it's a topic that I find interesting. And I just wanted to know, first of all, what your views on it are. And second of all, do you reckon it is more frowned upon in South Asian community? And I know the answer is probably yes, but I just want to talk about this.
Right, okay, so this is really interesting because I've looked into this quite a lot because I went on a date once years and years and years ago, and it was when I was living with Uncle Tarek and Auntie Lucy.
Yeah.
I remember specifically it was with a guy who was originally from Manchester and he was living in Southampton, and he was very successful and he was very clever. And I went on a date with him in Richmond. That's why I remember that I was living with them, because they were obviously they were in Surbiton. So I sat down with him and he was very interesting, and he said to me, do you know why Islamically you're allowed 4 wives? And I said, no, I think it's because, you know, at the time there was a lot of people at war and a lot of deaths of men, and so women were left on their own, so they needed it. And he said, that's what people kind of say, but actually, did you know that out of the 3 monotheistic religions, so Judaism, Christianity and Islam is the only religion that stipulates the amount of wives you're allowed? And I said, okay. So why? Because the others only allowed 1. He said, no, it was because before the times of Islam, because Islam historically is the newest religion, like people of any Abrahamic faith, basically, like all of the prophets, etc., they'd have like 20 or 30 wives. Right. So this is what he was telling me. Now, I've actually not looked into this, but this is what I've heard. And basically, and I've talked to a few more people about it, and they've confirmed that that's what there's the belief. So Islam is the only religion that stipulates you're allowed 4 wives, because they were trying to actually curb the amount of wives you were allowed.
Yeah.
So it was actually, at the time, it was Islamically, they were having the least amount of wives.
Right.
And other religions were having more wives because there was no stipulation on how many they could have.
Okay.
Now, if you look at faiths that within certain religions, I mean, I met a really lovely girl in Dubai recently who is the granddaughter of a very, very, very famous publication.
Right.
Very, like, world famous publication.
Sure.
And she said to me on this, she said, yeah, well, you know, I've got my mums. And I'm like, your mums? And she was like, yeah, I've got my mum, and then I've got my dad's second wife, who's also one of my mums.
Right.
And I was like, so your dad has 2 wives? And she was like, yeah. And I said, and how does it work? She said, well, actually, my second mum makes my actual mum laugh a lot, and they get on really well. And she's quite a lot younger than my mum. She's nearer to my age than she is to my mum's age.
Right.
But it works really well, and they're really happy. That's one of the only times I've ever heard they're happy. But very, very, what I wanted to touch on with this subject was, I myself have been in a situation where I have been asked whether I wanted to be a second wife.
Okay.
And I've had that a couple of times.
Sure.
And I find it disgusting.
Really?
I find it like horrendous. I'm like, how greedy are you?
Yeah.
I think it's really, really, really bad.
But you know what's interesting about what you just said, actually, is because, like, technically in Islam, you're allowed then 4 wives, right?
Yeah.
So technically, we should be fine about polyamory and open relationships because it's in our bloody religion.
It's in our religion, but it's not allowed the female is not allowed to have 4 husbands.
Ah.
So it's only the 4. Obviously, the men always win, don't they? They get
Yeah,
4
I know. I
wives,
didn't even think about that. It's actually such a good point.
Otherwise, I might have a few husbands now.
Yeah, imagine you just be like.
But also very interesting. It's an even number, and there's 7 days in a week, and you have to evenly spend your time between however many there are.
That is time.
And that's Islamically, you have to spend to the minute exactly the same amount of time with each wife. So I asked this girl who's got the 2 mums, and she said he does every other day. So she's got 2 houses. They're literally about 4 or 5 houses down from each other. He spends one night in that house, one night in that house, and he literally does it. He does it every other day.
Well, the thing is as well with this is that you're going to get the most honest relationships in these kind of situations because you know exactly what he's doing. And I was saying this before, but before you got here actually to the studio, I was talking with the guys about it, and I was saying that sometimes open relationships and polyamorous relationships are the most honest ones.
Yeah, you say that, but I'm a very jealous person. I would find that horrendous.
You know what? I'm just going to shut up now, actually. Okay, so we've got a new section on our little, on our chat, right? And it's about dilemmas. Currently, just getting my emails up so I can actually get the dilemmas on my phone. Okay, I'm just gonna cut this bit out of the podcast because I need to find the dilemmas. Where are they? Oh, there we go. That's for myself. Okay. So basically, I've got some dilemmas from people.
Okay.
2 of them. I'm gonna share them with you, and then I'm gonna help. Okay. So this one was from Anya.
Okay.
She says, "Hey Talina and Kiri, first of all, loved your last episode."
Oh, thanks, Anya.
Obviously. I wanted to ask your advice. I'm dating a guy at the moment and he's Punjabi like me.
Okay.
We're both the same religion and he's amazing. So really my parents should love him. But that's not the case. They keep telling me that he's not right for me because he has a big family too. And they want us to spend time with them during holidays, religious festivals, etc. And my family want us to be with them. I know my parents have always wanted me to be with someone who's not as close to their family so that I'll be with my family more. But it's really putting a strain on me and even making me start to question whether he's right for me, even though I love him so much. What shall I do? Right, this is a thing. Right, because my mum and dad always say this to me. I love them to death for it. And to be honest, I would rather spend my time with my family. But they are always like, oh, I had an ex-boyfriend who wasn't a Muslim, but that doesn't really matter to them. And they were like, oh, well, that relationship, his mother was very intense. And so we wouldn't have got to spend as much time with you. So essentially being like, God, I'm glad that you're not together anymore.
So this is very funny because when I was younger, I used to say that I only wanted to marry an orphan.
Oh, my God. That's so disturbing.
I don't mean that in a horrible way. I just mean in a way that, that they haven't really got much of a family because then it'd be much easier for me to spend time with my family. But actually, if that was me and I fell in love with somebody in a huge family, I'd just embrace it and say, look, parents, I don't know what more you want me to do for you. At the end of the day, how many tick boxes do you want? What do you want me to do? He's got a big family. I've got a big family. You're just going to have to share me. Do you want me to be happy or not?
Yeah. That is so true. And I think, though, maybe if, she's, it's one of her first boyfriends or something, it's more difficult because you're, the family aren't used to it and it's more difficult to put your foot down. But I completely agree. If he's amazing and he's perfect and all this.
But why not integrate the families a bit? Why not get them to meet? Why not get them to become friends? Why not make it a massive party?
I agree, but you know how it can get. And especially with weddings, one side of the family... One family wants to do the wedding their way.
But, I have it in my own family where we've got Habiba's family's really big.
Really big.
Our family's really big. And it works really easily. It works really well. And we even though obviously I'm part of Perry's family, I'm still I helped Habiba's brother get a flat recently.
Yeah, you did.
And everyone's like, who is he in my office? And I'm like, he's my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And they're like, but you haven't got a sister, so how have you got a brother-in-law?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, because it's my sister-in-law's brother, but it's the same
It's
thing,
the same
right?
thing. It's the same thing.
So, you know.
And yeah, we're all very integrated. That's true. Like, I go on holidays with Perry, your brother, my cousin, and his other side of the family, aka his wife, and her cousins. One of her cousins is one of my closest friends. So I think it's true. And with the weddings, what you can do is, the lucky thing is about in South Asian weddings, you have multiple functions. So let one family do one function,
Exactly.
one family do another function. That's how it should be.
That is exactly how it should be. You just got to, I mean, I would never ditch somebody. You know, it's hard enough to meet someone. You know, I'd just tell my parents they were unreasonable.
Yeah, put your foot down, Anya.
Put your foot down, Anya. That's what I say.
Dilemma number 2 comes from Tasmi.
Okay.
Who says, "Hey girls."
Very nice name.
Tasmi.
Yeah.
"Hey girls, I'm really freaking out because I'm 27 and don't know if I've ever been in love. I feel like arranged marriages are such a thing in our culture and making a family that we almost forget what love is. How do I know if I've been in love or if I'm in love?"
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm probably the worst person to ask about that because I'm not.
So.
I mean, I think,
You've been in love.
But I mean, I think it's very complicated. Love's very complicated.
Yeah.
You know, and especially when you love as much as you and I love. We love a lot. and I don't know if I haven't told you this actually, but basically with the person that I'm chatting to at the moment, who I'm getting to know, who I like a lot, I've been talking to him a lot on FaceTime.
Yeah.
Because he lives in another city. And basically, I was in the middle, we were both really tired. We were chatting and I was at the end of the conversation and I started yawning and he was yawning and whatever. And then I said, "Okay, listen, I'm going to go. I'll talk to you tomorrow." And he was like, "Yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow." And I was like, "Okay." And then I went, "Love you." No. And then I put my hand over my mouth and I went, "I don't love you, by the way. Like, I don't love you." God. And he was just like, he was laughing his head off and he was like, "But you said it and I'm going to keep it in a box and I'm going to hold that to gate." And I was like, "No, but I say that to everybody. I even say that to my colleagues at work."
It is a thing, isn't it?
It is a thing.
It's like when you say love you to your teacher or whatever at school.
Yeah.
And actually I had this thing with this guy I was seeing in the summer. You know, I'm not going to say his name. You know who he is. And I remember we were in we'd had such a great evening together. Like, we were in a really good place and everything. And I was leaving in the morning to go to my radio show from his house. And I remember I was about to leave. And then I was like, "Okay, gonna go now, blah, blah, blah." Gave him a cuddle, gave him a kiss. He was like, no, don't go. And then I was like, "No, I have to." And then I went, choking as if I was about
verbal
to say,
diarrhea.
"Love you." And then I was like, "Okay, bye." Left. Called my best friend Bex immediately. I was like, "Oh my God, I almost said love you, bye." And she was like, "Fuck." Because it's just, and in that moment though, I kind of felt that feeling.
But mine was on FaceTime, so it was very, very vocal and facially.
And in your face.
And it was in his face, and
So
I said
funny.
it. But I just say that naturally to everyone.
No, and I think you handled
it well. And I said, "Look, I didn't say I love you. I just said love you."
Love you.
And that's a whole different thing. And he was like, "Is it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I started laughing, and he started laughing. But you know, the whole point is that it is, you know, it's a bit.
But
it's a bit silly,
I think you handled it really well, and I think he handled it really well as well. You know, how he went about it and everything.
I know, and I ended up saying to him, "I meant like you,
bye."
And he was just like, he was laughing, laughing so hard. And the other thing is that he was, you know, very much he very much took it in a very jovial, happy, funny way. Thank God.
Yeah.
But if he hadn't, I don't know what I'd have done. But going back to Tasmi. I actually think that Tasmi, I would like to say that it doesn't really matter whether you've been in love or not. It's how you feel at that moment. It doesn't, you know, I wouldn't stress over it. Just kind of go with your life and enjoy your life. And if you meet someone and you know, I think there's love in lots of different things that you do and lots of different people that you meet. And you know, how many times have you said, "It's different with this one. I feel different."
Oh, shut up, Kiri.
I mean, I say I say it with every single one. "Oh, it's different though. It's not the same as the other ones. It's different." And yeah, okay, it's because it all shows itself in different ways, and you know, maybe they're all little different particles of love that are in all of those situations.
I agree. Because like you say, with anything, a love of food or a love of what you do for work, your friends, your family.
And if you're enthusiastic as a person, you love everything.
You love everything.
I love everything. I love work. I love eating. Oh. I love eating more than I love work, I have to say. I love eating. I love chilling. I love people. I love no people. I love watching Handmaid's Tale by myself.
You love me.
I love you. I love my family. And, you know, there's so much love that's around the place. like,
Yeah.
and you know.
But I also think, like, on the note of kind of like, have I been in love? Am I in love? I feel like and maybe this is a wrong advice to give or the wrong thing to say, but I feel like you can't explain what it is, but you just know. And if you're not sure, then it's a no.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like it's a feeling, and for me, I sometimes get a bit depressed because I'm like, oh, like there's only really one person in my life thus far that's like, Christ on a bike, that's a big love. Right.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'm like, oh, that's such a good feeling. Imagine.
But then you've
not
had
having it
other
again.
loves in your life that have been gradual and grown.
Yeah.
And then you've not sure. And then, you know, there's been things that have been instant.
Yeah.
Where it's like literally like,
Whoosh.
I fell in love with you within like an hour.
Yeah.
And that's because we're very enthusiastic Leos and we think we love everybody within an hour. You know, and I think that, you know, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. And you shouldn't be stressing at the age of 27 if you've been in love or not. I mean, at 27, I'm not sure whether I even knew I'd been in love. I think I had, but I didn't think I knew I had.
I don't think it's a thing to obsess about and overthink. And I know it's easy to say don't overthink, but yeah, I think.
But also, love can be an obsession too. It might not be love. It might just be obsessed because you're obsessed with the situation because you want it to work. So then you think you're in love with them, but actually you're not.
Bloody hell, it's confusing, isn't it?
It's really confusing.
Well, we hope we didn't confuse you more, Tasmi. Okay, so final section we're moving on from dating and agony aunting because I know we could talk about it all night, but you know we haven't got all night. So kind of random bits and bobs.
I'm scared
just a few
again.
Short questions. Actually, don't be scared.
Sure.
There's this guy at the moment who I actually want to get on my podcast called AJ Wavy, and
I want to get him on your podcast just for his name.
Yeah, he's gone like viral. Basically, he started off on TikTok doing mashups of like Desi music, Eastern music with Western stuff. There was one of the Drake tracks, I think it was like Hotline Bling or something. I spoke about it with Rav from Punjabi Hit Squad, who just came on the podcast as well. Anyway, he's blown up. He's now been signed by Sony, but one of the main reasons is because he gets his family in on the TikToks. His dad is like an icon now, and his dad's like this old Indian bloke with grey hair. Actually, don't know if he's Indian. He's South Asian, sorry. And he just stands there, and then AJ Wavy's like around his dad, kind of like singing and doing all this stuff. How iconic are South Asian elders? And I say this because your dad is a G, and my dad is a G as well, but I wouldn't call him an elder, and I wouldn't call your dad an elder either, but you know what I'm talking about.
My dad's an elder.
Okay, he's an elder.
So my dad's an elder, but he is a very funny elder.
He's so funny.
And I would say, yes, your dad's G in a very cool way.
Yeah.
But my dad is hilarious.
Oh, he's so funny.
And my dad is hilarious, and he is very funny, and he's very irritable, but very funny at the same time. And he's actually even funnier when he's put into a situation with my mother.
Oh, it's so brilliant.
And they're literally like at each other's throats,
So
and they're
funny.
like, like literally, they're always at each other.
But then they're like, darling, and then your mum's like, oh, sorry, I've just got to make Rafiq's tea and toast and his egg. Like, darling, Rafiq, what do you need?
I know. I mean, the thing is that they are a very funny duo. And we've got some great videos of them and some great footage.
Honestly, and there's some things that we can't share on here because we get really told off, but I have cried my eyes out in like laughter at some of the videos of your mum and dad. And then when I go to your house in Manchester when you're not there and I take videos or I tell you what they've been up to, it's like you don't want to do anything on a Friday night when you're in Manchester but sit in the living room and watch them.
I know. I heard you got a key cut.
I have got a key cut. Do
Yeah.
you have a key?
Of course I've got a key. I'm their daughter.
No, because Perry said to me, how have you got a key? I've not got a key. And I was like, well, because I went and got one cut. So I was coming in at 6 a.m. and actually, I didn't come in at 6 a.m. Anyway, whatever. So, and then the best thing, one of my favourite things about your dad is that he watches Pakistani news on the TV, but then he's got other Pakistani news on the phone. And then but then sometimes he's also on the phone to his Pakistani friends with the Pakistani news on. And when my mum's there, and my mum's been in this family for a long time, but she is not South Asian, she's like, I can't handle this noise.
She's like, you need to turn it off. She's like, can you just get Daddy to turn the TV off or something? And I'm like, not really, because he likes to listen to his WhatsApp. He likes to be on FaceTime to Uncle Jerry.
Yeah.
Uncle Jerry's actually Asian, by the way, even though he's called Uncle Jerry.
Yeah.
Uncle Jerry, none of us have ever met Uncle Jerry, by the way.
Who is he?
Uncle Jerry is literally a G.
Oh
right, so Uncle Jerry is like this guy who talks to my dad on the phone every single day. He's got really overachieving children. Right. One of his daughters is the commissioning editor for Elle magazine.
Wow.
One of his daughters is a top-selling, best-selling author.
Yeah.
And she's and then he's got a son who's a filmmaker.
Oh, bloody hell.
And he's like really, really, really like, you know, he's
Yeah.
really like bigging up his children all the time. And Uncle Jerry just keeps Daddy entertained all the time, but his children never go to see him. So I say to Daddy, well, they might be the overachieving children, but I come to see you every weekend, so you need to look at that, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Uncle Jerry would rather have me as his daughter, who comes home and cooks you dinner,
exactly.
than have these overachieving children.
And he says, "Hello, daughter." Okay, last thing I want to talk to you about. Actually, no, two things. Food. You are an incredible cook.
Thank you.
You know, as I've spoken about, as everyone in the whole world should probably know. I want to ask you though, what is the difference between Pakistani food and Indian food? Because I feel like everyone just thinks like Indian food is the same as Pakistani food or like food, Bangladeshi food.
Okay,
or whatever.
so bit of a history lesson.
Go on.
It was all one country at one point.
It was.
Right. It was one country at one point. The British decided to start to do a bit of stirring around and stole everybody, all the jewels out of the country as well at the same time. And they came in and they colonized the country, and then what they did was they did the usual divide and rule, divide and conquer thing, and they made the Muslims go against the Hindus, right, and the Sikhs. Hindus and Sikhs went one way, Muslims went the other way. There was a leader called Jinnah. I'm just putting it into a very short period here. A leader called Jinnah, and there was also Mahatma Gandhi that everybody knows, and there was a guy called Nehru. And basically what happened was, between them all, and between Mountbatten, who was the British leader of that area, he was the viceroy. They decided that they were going to split up India into new places. There was going to be a place for the Muslims called there was going to be East Pakistan and West Pakistan. But basically, East Pakistan is now Bangladesh. because what they did was they cut up the country, but with India in the middle. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So rather than giving them one big piece of land, they did one piece of land here, one piece of land, India in the middle. Yeah. So essentially, the food's always been the same. Right. Right. So you've got different parts of India, because India is a very big country, but Pakistan is in the north. So Pakistan is like northern Indian food. So when you go to an Indian restaurant in England somewhere, like say you go to the Curry Mile in Manchester, for example, or you go to a Pakistani run Indian restaurant, because it's all called Indian cuisine, but they're generally run by Pakistanis mainly. In London, you find a lot of Bangladeshis that run Indian food, which is in like Brick Lane. Yeah. Slightly different. But what you find is that the food that you get in Bombay, for example, and Delhi is exactly the same as the food you get in Pakistan. Right. But if you go further south towards Kerala, Calcutta, the sort of the Bengal area, of India, you will find that the food completely changes. And the food is very much like it's what you call South Indian food. So you have these pancakes called dosas. Oh yeah, they're so tasty. They are very tasty. Oosh. They're so good. And you have lots of different, quite a lot of coconut influence and quite a lot of fish influence in the south. But in the north, it's very much like tandoori grills, and it's like a lot of you aloo gobis and all these sorts of vegetables. What you find in India though is that there's quite a lot of vegetarian. Yes. And when I was in India, it would say on the menu, veg and non-veg, which is so weird. Yeah, because there are people that are non-veg. Yeah. So the people that are non-veg, so vegetarian, I think within the Sikh, not the Sikh community, the Hindu community. Sikh community, they generally do one day a week where they go vegetarian, I think, from what Benazir told me. They do it for prayers. So they'll do no meat for prayers and they'll pray on that day. But a lot of Hindus are no meat at all. They don't eat any meat at all. Yeah, which is why they say non-veg. Which is why they say veg and non-veg, because veg is quite the norm over there. But it's quite interesting. Yeah, well, that's a good lesson. I'm really impressed with you that you know so much about it. I love eating. You love eating and you love being Pakistani. So I'm going to end the podcast in a second. The last question I want to ask you is... Actually, no, I want to just quickly tell you something. So me and Kiri are obsessed with this program that you have to watch on Netflix called Never Have I Ever. And it's about this Hindu girl called Devi Vishwal Kumar and her life, the chaos of it. And I think any South Asian girl can relate to this in so many ways. So I've watched the whole series. I've watched 3 series twice now. I've watched them both twice. But did I tell you that Tash, who is my housemate, who is a Hindu... We were out a few weeks ago and I went home. The next day I get in her bed like I do every time after we've been on a night out. She's like, I met Paxis. I was like, who is Paxis? She met Paxton. He's actually Paxton and he's the lead character in Never Have I Ever, the lead male. Oh my God, I love him. Paxton Hall Yashida. Yes. I love him.
He's like Davy, the lead character's like man that she, it's a whole drama. But anyway, she runs up to him and she goes, Paxis, Paxis. I was like, Tash, he's called Paxton. Imagine she called him Paxis.
Oh my
And she was
God.
like, let me buy you a shot. Can we have a selfie? And
Did
his
she get a
friend-
selfie?
Yeah, she got a selfie. I need to show you.
Oh, was he? Apparently, he's a nice boy in real life.
He is nice. But apparently he's very short. Not that it matters.
He looks short. Short.
Anyway,
I mean,
final
you can't be
thing-
shortest.
Oh no, but I am 5'9.5".
I know.
Fine, not the 0.5.
0.5 is very important. I say that. So, yeah. 0.5 is
Final
always
thing,
important.
As a South Asian person, what is one confession that you're going to make that people wouldn't expect about you, considering you're South Asian?
Okay, that's a really, really complicated question. And if I'd have had that question earlier, I might have prepared it. But as I chose not to, that was the one that you could have sent me just off the cuff, by the way.
Is it that difficult?
What was it? Say again?
Like
What was
a
the question?
confession that people wouldn't expect about you because you're South Asian.
I don't know.
You don't
Give me
know?
an idea. I don't know.
Okay, for example, like mine, I gave this already on the podcast the other day, but like mine is that like, well, actually not anymore because I'm obsessed with dal, but my favourite dish is korma, which is embarrassing because it's not even really Indian. So like that's my like embarrassing thing that's like I'm ashamed to say because I'm South Asian.
Oh, okay. Well,
So like, if you went on the sunbed, for example, and you're South Asian, that's a bit like, oh god.
okay, well, I have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm obsessed with sunbathing, and I'm obsessed with making my skin brown, which Asian people are meant to be obsessed with being white. So yeah.
And also,
I would say that.
I'll add to that with you used to be a spray tan lady.
I used to have a spray tanning business,
You did.
and I spray tanned a lot of famous people.
Yeah.
And I was constantly orange. I was an Oompa Loompa for like literally 5 years.
And you're South Asian, so that.
And I'm South Asian.
Anyway, thank you so much, Kiri, for coming on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I think you'll
been a
definitely be
pleasure.
back.
Yeah, thanks. Have me back soon, yeah?
I will. Thanks guys.
Thanks. Bye.